Welcome to Sleep With Me, where stories as old as time wrap you in gentle shadows and hush your mind. Before we begin tonight's journey, I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Drop your location and time in the comments below, and let's connect across the hours. Snuggle into your coziest spot perhaps, under a soft blanket or beside a dim nightlight, and let the quiet cadence of these tales carry you toward rest. Once upon a time, nestled between rolling hills and a placid lake, there lived a young ferryman named Ellen. Every evening as twilight painted the sky in hues of lavender and rose, he'd walk along the shoreline, his weathered hands gripping the oarlocks of his sturdy skiff. His task was simple, yet essential. He ferried travelers across the dark water, ensuring they reached the safety of the other shore. One evening, as the last sliver of sun dipped below the horizon, a sense of foreboding washed over Elwyn. His wife, Isolde, usually a picture of robust health, lay still and pale in their cottage, a victim of a sudden illness. Fear gnawed at him. Without delay, he knew he must seek help from the wise healer in the next village. Time, he knew, was of the essence. With a whispered promise to return as soon as he could, Alan hurried to his skiff. The boat, his lifeline to the world, was usually his solace, gliding silently on the water's mirror-like surface. But tonight, urgency lent speed to his movements. He secured the last rope, his heart mirroring the rhythmic slosh of oars against the water. And with a final glance at the darkened cottage, he pushed off from the bank and began his journey across the lake. As he rowed, the inky black of the night was broken only by the soft lap of oars against water and the distant croaking of frogs. Halfway across, the flame of his lone lantern danced merrily, casting flickering shadows that stretched and distorted in the gloom. Then suddenly, as if in mockery of his plight, the flame sputtered and died, plunging him into absolute darkness. Ellen froze, his breath catching in his throat. For a moment, all was silent, except for the relentless beating of his own heart. Then the wind, playful and unkind, began to mock him, rustling the reeds and whispering through the trees. It sounded like hushed voices, like whispers of forgotten lore, amplifying the terror that coiled in his gut. What was he to do now? How could he navigate the dark water without the guiding glow of his lantern? Time seemed to stretch, each second echoing the thump of his increasingly frantic heartbeat. As the moon peeked shyly from behind the clouds, casting a pale light on the water, Ellen continued his desperate paddle. Finally, the faint outline of land emerged from the darkness. With renewed vigor, he paddled on, his muscles screaming in protest. Soon enough, the shore was close enough to touch, and the sound of rushing water signaled safety. With trembling hands, he guided his boat to the pebbled beach and stepped out onto solid ground. But his ordeal was not over. As he stumbled towards home, the first rays of dawn crept over the trees, painting the sky in hues of rose and gold. From the distance, a faint glow appeared on the horizon. It was his lantern, bobbing gently on the water surface. Panic seized him as he realized its soft light illuminated his empty boat, anchored where he'd left it. His lantern lay on the pebbled beach, still warm from its journey across the dark lake, its light extinguished only by the rising sun. News of Eleanor's disappearance spread like ripples across the placid lake, touching every heart in the village. Theories abounded, each more chilling than the last. Some whispered of mythical creatures lurking in the lake's dark depths, while others spoke of malevolent spirits that haunted the twilight hours. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, but the mystery of Elwyn's fate remained unsolved, a haunting enigma that refused to be laid to rest. Then, as the seasons turned and the first buds of spring appeared, a new story began to unfold on the placid surface of the lake. Once again, a soft glow appeared, mimicking the gentle swaying of a distant flame. It was the lantern, returning to the village after its long absence. People stood mesmerized, their faces etched with awe and trepidation. Was it the ferryman's soul seeking solace, or something more sinister, returning to claim another victim? From that night on, villagers reported seeing the lantern once each month. Always at the same hour between midnight and cockcrow, its soft glow bobbed across the water's surface. Some said it was Ellen's spirit, forever seeking his lost wife. Others claimed it LED unwary souls into the reeds, their silhouettes swallowed by the tall grasses, never to be seen again. Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of the lake. The hush of the night is broken only by the distant call of an owl. There you see it, the lantern, appearing on the far side of the lake. It's a pale, wavering orb, moving slowly as though carried on an unseen hand. You can't help but lean closer, your eyes following its every move. The glow is steady but faint, just bright enough to outline the shadowy figure of the ferryman. He's tall, hooded, and silent, forever rowing, forever reaching. In the dead of night, a group of daring children decided to follow the lantern's glow. They got into a small rowboat and set off across the lake, their laughter echoing merrily in the stillness. As they neared the lantern, their excitement grew, their voices growing louder. But as they approached, the lantern suddenly halted. A hush fell over the children, and they saw the reflection of the flame flicker and die, leaving them in total darkness. Just then, they heard a sigh, soft as the ripple of water, and the rhythmic splash of paddles dropping to stillness. Then the lantern slipped beneath the surface, vanishing into the dark depths. The children huddled together, their laughter replaced by gasps and whispers. They felt the icy grip of fear as they realized they were not alone on the lake. Trembling, they returned home, forever changed by their encounter with the mysterious lantern. During the winter, when the lake was a sheet of ice, the lantern could not glide across the frozen surface. It had no choice but to wait until the ice thawed and the water flowed once more. Yet it did not stop its nightly vigil. Villagers awoke to find the tiny window panes of their homes flickering with its glow. Each house received a visit from the enigmatic lantern, bringing with it a strange comfort and a hint of mystery. On each sill, they found a single raven's feather tied in black ribbon, a silent promise that someone or something was watching over them. Amidst the fear and uncertainty, the lantern became a beacon, not of hope, but of resilience, reminding the villagers that even in the darkest of nights, the faintest glimmer of light can guide them through the shadows. And so the story of the lantern went on, passed down through generations, a chilling reminder of a love that transcended even death itself. Each flickering flame held a promise of both sorrow and solace, drawing the villagers into its enigmatic embrace. Now close your eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine yourself on the shores of a still lake at midnight. The air is cool on your skin, and the only sound is the rustling of leaves in the trees. Before you the lake shimmers, reflecting the light of the full moon. Suddenly a faint glow appears on the opposite side of the lake. It seems to dance and flicker like a candle flame. You feel a pull, an unexplainable urge to approach the light. As you step into the boat, the oars feel strangely heavy in your hands. With each stroke you move closer to the lantern's glow. It beckons to you, promising answers and understanding. Yet as you near it, the light seems to grow dimmer, as if hiding from your grasp. You strain to reach out and touch it, but it slips just beyond your fingers. Now look closely at the figure in the boat. It's tall and cloaked, its face hidden in the shadows. Can you hear the sigh of the wind through the trees? Or perhaps it's the whisper of a name carried on the breeze. The air grows colder, sending shivers down your spine. The lantern's light flickers and fades, leaving you in darkness. You are alone. The whispers grow louder, swirling around you, and you realize you are not meant to be here. With a start, you turn the boat and head back to shore. As you reach the safety of the land, the whispers fade into silence. The image of the lone lantern bobbing on the water surface is seared into your mind. You know you will never forget this night, for it has touched your soul and awakened something deep within. Now take a moment to sit with this feeling. Let your breath grow even and slow, matching the lantern's steady bob on the midnight waves. Visualize its soft glow washing over you, soothing your fears and guiding you toward calm. Feel the gentle rocking of the boat as it carries you away from the eerie light. Feel the coolness of the night air on your skin as you find solace on the shore. The faint glow of the lantern may linger in the distance, but you are safe now. As the lantern drifts into shadow, we leave its soft glow behind, carrying the comfort of loyalty and quiet longing with us. The story ends here, but its echoes remain, a testament to the enduring power of love and loss. Now, let us leave the moonlit lake and step inside a snug cottage nestled at the edge of an ancient woodland. Here, by crackling firelight, families have shared a curious tale of tiny footsteps echoing down the chimney, long after logs have turned to embers. Imagine a youthful couple, Margaret and Thomas, settling into this humble home centuries ago. Their laughter once filled the rafters, especially after the birth of their daughter, Lily. But when Lily fell ill and passed in winter's grip, a hush settled over the cottage. Their hearth fire burned low, and grief lay thick as soot. One night, Margaret sat alone beside the dying embers. A faint scuff reached her ears, like the soft padding of tiny feet on stone. Startled, she paused, her shawl falling silent. From the chimney above, she heard slender steps, descending with gentle rhythm. Then one night, Margaret sat alone beside the dying embers. A faint scuff reached her ears, like the soft padding of tiny feet on stone. Startled, she paused, her shawl falling silent. From the chimney above, she heard slender steps descending with a gentle rhythm. She wasn't sure if it was a dream or reality, because the next morning there were no footprints on the hearth, and no ash was disturbed. And yet each night as the moon climbed high, they heard the same patter. Sometimes a small, cold handprint smudged the warm kettle's lid. Other times, a ribbon from Lily's gown, long misplaced, reappeared atop the mantel, spun into a neat bow. And then one night, in the flickering glow, she saw a tiny silhouette glide across the back of the chimney alcove. She gasped, heart fluttering like a songbird. The figure paused, as though watching her, then dissolved into the dancing shadows. What do you think Margaret did? Let us know in the comments below. If you like stories like this and would like to support us, please consider becoming a member through the link in the description below. Now, back to the story. Rather than fear these visitations, Margaret felt a gentle presence. When she wept, a gust of warm air would swirl around her shoulders like an embrace. Thomas, once a skeptic, awoke to a soft lullaby humming in the room Lily's favorite verse. One night, drawn by the lullaby, neighbors stood at the threshold. Astonished to hear a child's song where no child lived, they peered in but saw only the firelight playing on empty walls. They, too, believed Lily's spirit lingered to comfort her parents, guiding them back toward quiet hope. Still, the footsteps never ceased. Each night they echoed, a rhythmic counterpoint to the ticking clock. Did they bring a message? A warning? Or were they simply a testament to enduring love? One particularly bleak evening, Margaret found solace in the ritual of tea. As steam curled from the spout, weaving tales of its own, she thought she heard a tiny voice amidst the murmur. "Don't be afraid, Mama. I am here." Startled, she turned, but the room was empty save for the dancing flames. Yet the words echoed in her heart, chasing away the encroaching darkness. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months, and still the cottage held its secrets close. What whispers echoed in its rafters? Was it joy, sorrow, or something in between? You see, when the weather turned, the couple sought the warmth of the hearth, tending the fire with loving care. It crackled merrily, casting flickering shadows on the walls. The footsteps in the chimney seemed to dance in time with its flames. One night, as they sat in companionable silence, a sudden crash from the chimney startled them. Startled, they rushed to investigate. Soot and ash cascaded down, covering the floor in a thick layer. The room was unnaturally cold, sending shivers down their spines. Fear tightened its grip, whispering doubts and chilling their bones. The sweet memory of their daughter turned to haunting specter. Was this the spirit of their beloved Lily, seeking their love or wreaking havoc? They tried everything. Incantations whispered by candlelight, holy water blessed by the village priest, even iron bars placed over the hearth, a barrier against any potential evil. Yet nothing kept the footsteps from their home. Oh, how they longed for peace, for quiet nights without the rhythmic tapping. Yet each evening as dusk descended, the haunting melody began anew. One night, Thomas, driven by desperation, climbed onto the roof. He peered into the chimney, its darkness mocking his efforts to find answers. What secrets did it hold? Who or what was making their lives a torment? From up here, he could hear the footsteps more clearly. They echoed in the confined space, amplifying his dread. Suddenly, his foot slipped. Scrambling for purchase, he lost his balance. He tumbled down, crashing onto the hearth in a cloud of dust and smoke. Gasping for breath, he saw a small, intricately carved wooden box nestled amidst the embers. Soot covered it, hiding its significance. Carefully brushing the grime away, he felt a jolt of recognition. This was a keepsake from Lily's nursery, a place he and Margaret had lovingly decorated before their world turned gray with grief. But how did it end up here? And what did it mean? The answer came in the form of another crash, this time from the chimney. With trembling hands, Thomas pulled it open. Inside, nestled in faded velvet, lay a single object, a small silver rattle, tarnished by time. Memories flooded back. It was one of Lily's favorite toys, a constant source of delight until it mysteriously vanished during her illness. At that moment, he understood. These weren't the taunts of a vengeful spirit, but the gentle taps of one reaching out to say goodbye. When Margaret joined him, her face pale in the firelight, he shared his discovery. Together they deciphered the signs, piecing together the fragments of their past. It wasn't a malevolent force that haunted them, but their daughter, Lily, reaching out from beyond. Her footsteps in the chimney became a beacon, guiding them toward understanding. And so they waited, not in fear, but in remembrance. The footsteps continued, a constant rhythm in the night. Each tap, tap, tap a reminder of the love that death couldn't diminish. In the quiet hours, as the fire sputtered and the wind howled outside, the rattle lay between them, a tangible link to their daughter's memory. It didn't banish the chill, but it warmed their hearts. For within those four walls, they weren't just a grieving couple. They were parents remembering. And in remembering, they found solace. They understood now that Lily wasn't lost. Not really. She was with them in the crackle of the fire, the whisper of the wind, and yes, in the soft padding of tiny feet on stone. Now, whenever the footsteps echoed through the chimney, they smiled. It wasn't a ghost that haunted them. It was their daughter saying hello. As the years turned seasons, the footsteps didn't cease, but they lessened, fading into the tapestry of their lives like a cherished melody. The rattle stayed with them, its jingle a comforting counterpoint to the silence of loss. And so they aged, their love deepening with each passing year, sustained by memories and the echoes of laughter. The footsteps in the chimney became a lullaby, a testament to a bond that death itself couldn't sever. Now, when the moon is full and the wind whispers tales of old, the couple finds solace in the rhythm of the night. For in the footsteps above, they hear their daughter's gentle greeting, reminding them that love, like footsteps, can echo through eternity. So the next time you hear a soft padding in the chimney, don't be afraid. It might just be a little girl saying hello to her forever home. And did you ever hear the tale of the phantom at the crossroads? No? Well, come closer, and I'll tell you. Imagine a lone rider named Edric, journeying home after market day. His cloak is damp with mist. The clip-clop of hooves on soft earth echoes through the silent wood. As he nears the crossroads, his lantern's glow weakens, swallowed by the night's embrace. Though the path behind him is clear, the one ahead grows darker, vanishing into shades of gray. He halts beneath the ancient oak. Its gnarled branches claw at the starless sky like skeletal arms, twisting in silent agony. Above him, leaves whisper secrets to the wind, and below, roots like grasping claws grip the earth. From this vantage point, the road ahead seems to vanish into darkness and shadow. Fear whispers in Edric's ear, urging him to turn back. But exhaustion and the lure of home call to him stronger still. Then from the gloom beneath the oak, something stirs. Edric's heart pounds against his ribs, a trapped bird desperate for escape. Emerging slowly, a carriage drawn by coal-black horses takes shape. Their coats gleam like polished obsidian, eyes burning embers in the darkness. Silence hangs heavy, broken only by the horse's soft breath and the rustle of leaves above. The driver sits motionless in his seat, clad in a dark frock coat and top hat. His face is hidden beneath the upturned brim of his wide black hat, shrouded in shadow. But what startles Edric most is the lantern held by the driver's left hand. It casts an eerie glow, unwavering and steady as a heartbeat in the surrounding gloom. A long moment stretches, taut with unspoken words and hidden meanings. Then the coachman lifts a gloved hand and gives a slight nod toward the empty seat beside him. It's an invitation, silent but clear. No words are spoken, yet Edric understands the urgency in that gesture. Ride now, or risk losing your way forever. With a deep breath, he braces himself and steps forward. For a moment, the only sound is the crackle of the lantern. The coachman does not move, his face still hidden in the shadows. Edric hesitates, glancing at the village path. Thin wisps of mist curl between the trees like phantom fingers beckoning. But weariness pulls at him, stronger than the fear that stirs in his chest. He turns back to the carriage, its darkness seeming to pulse in the stillness. Placing his lantern on the seat beside him, he climbs aboard without a sound. The door closes behind him, cutting off the whispers of the wood. Inside, the air is warm, faintly scented with pipe tobacco and roses. Light flickers from the lantern held by the coachman, who, without turning, begins to urge the horses forward. At first, the carriage glides over soft earth with a gentle sway. Then the trees close in around them, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The road narrows, the darkness pressing in from all sides. The silence is heavy, broken only by the rhythmic clip-clop of hooves and the faint, sweet smell of roses envelops Edric, lulling him into a false sense of security. Outside, the trees blur into a tunnel of black, the road stretching endlessly into the unknown. The only point of light, the unwavering glow of the lantern held by the silent coachman. Time seems to slip away, measured only by the soft thud of wheels on the road. Then suddenly, Edric feels an icy chill creep up his spine, despite the warmth of the carriage. He glances at the coachman, but his face remains hidden in the shadows. Panic rising, Edric reaches for the lantern, but his fingers slip through it as though it were mist. In that instant, the driver turns. A skeletal face with hollow eyes stares back at Edric, a cruel smile twisting his lips. The silence shatters. A rasping laugh echoes in the carriage, bouncing off unseen walls. Then the coachman leans closer, his hot breath smelling of decay and tombstones on a winter's night. "Lost," he whispers, his voice like nails scraping down a chalkboard. "Forever lost." Terror grips Edric, stealing his voice and freezing him in place. The carriage jolts to a halt, and the door opens, revealing nothing but impenetrable darkness. The coachman beckons with a finger, his smile widening. Outside, the wind rises, whipping through the trees and carrying the scent of wet leaves and distant storms. The driver's laugh rings out again, echoing into the darkness as he urges, "Come, join me, lost traveler. There's room enough in my carriage for two." In a panic, Edric scrambles from the carriage. He stumbles onto the road, lantern forgotten, and flees into the suffocating darkness. Behind him, he hears the creak of the carriage door closing, followed by the soft thud of wheels on the road. Then a cold realization dawns on him. The road he thought he knew twists and turns in ways he'd never noticed before, each bend leading to another indistinguishable from the last. Trapped in this labyrinth of darkness, Edric's hope begins to dwindle. As the sound of pursuing hooves grows louder, he darts into the trees, branches whipping at his face, tearing at his clothes. Thorns snag his cloak, momentarily slowing him, but he yanks free, driven by terror and adrenaline. Through the trees, he sees a faint glimmer of light and stumbles toward it, praying it leads to safety. As he emerges from the trees, relief floods him. Before him lies the familiar road to his village. In the distance, the faint glow of lanterns spills from windows, casting warm pools of light against the encroaching darkness. But his moment of triumph is short-lived. Turning, he sees the black carriage emerging from the trees, its lantern glowing ominously. The coachman leans out, his hollow eyes boring into Edric's soul. With a cruel smile, he raises a finger, beckoning Edric back into the darkness. But the sight of the village, however distant, is Edric's strength. He shakes off his fear and runs toward the welcoming lights. Behind him, he hears the screech of brakes, the clatter of hooves on stone as the carriage comes to a halt. Footsteps echo on the road, heavy and deliberate. Then silence. The sound of approaching footsteps is replaced by the wind rustling through the trees and the distant murmur of crickets. Gathering his courage, Edric turns. The carriage is gone, vanished as if it and its macabre driver had never been. The road stretches before him, empty and silent, save for the whispering trees. With renewed determination, Edric turns and runs. He sprints along the road, the comforting glow of the village growing brighter with every step. He doesn't dare look back, but he can almost feel the icy gaze of the coachman upon him, driving him ever forward. As he bursts from the trees onto the village street, the sounds of human life wash over him, a soothing balm to his frayed nerves. Laughter spills from a tavern, the murmur of conversation from a house. The distant bleating of sheep and the soft rumble of a nearby stream weave together a tapestry of normalcy. He slows to a stop, his heart still pounding in his chest. Glancing over his shoulder, he sees only the darkening woods and the road stretching endlessly into the gloom. With trembling hands, he retrieves his lantern from where he'd dropped it, its light flickering in the gathering dusk. As the phantom coachman fades into legend, we carry forward both caution and solace. That even in darkness, a spark of courage lights our path. Soon, we will step before an old mirror, once said to trap more than just reflections. I've always loved mirrors. They don't just reflect what's in front of them, but also let us see ourselves. And even though sometimes looking at myself isn't all that fun, there's something magical about seeing my own reflection. When I was a kid, my mom used to say mirrors can show us more than meets the eye. She meant that sometimes when we look at our reflections, we can catch glimpses of things that are hidden from plain view. And that's why today we're going to peer into some mirrors that revealed important secrets, captured warnings, and even showed us how to be kind. The first mirror is one that brings us back to a time before TV and cell phones, when people would sit around listening to radios. Imagine the radio playing crackly music late at night. You re-wrapped up in your favorite blanket in a comfy chair, and suddenly you hear footsteps coming closer and closer. Then someone whispers right in your ear, "Do you know what time it is?" What do you think? Do you turn around to look? Well, maybe you should, because what you see might change everything. It was a similar story for Eloise, who heard soft steps in the dead of night too, but she didn't turn around. First, because she knew her house was empty, except for her and her cat. Second, because she couldn't bear to see another ghost. Ever since her family had left, she was stuck in the big house alone, trying to ignore the regular ghostly goings-on. There was furniture moving by itself, doors creaking open, and sometimes she'd swear she heard laughter echoing through the halls. It was enough to drive her crazy. But then came the whispers. Sometimes they seemed friendly, like when she'd hear someone calling her name, and then the voice would come closer and closer. Other times, the whispers sounded scared. Then she'd hear the approaching footsteps followed by a sigh that seemed to carry sadness from another time. These encounters happened regularly, but the whispering ghost never revealed itself. Until one night when Louise sat down to listen. She wanted to understand what the ghost was trying to tell her, so she waited patiently. First, she heard a knock on the stairs, then a soft pad up the carpeted hallway. Finally, she heard a whisper right behind her. "Are you awake?" Then a voice asked. Louise turned around and saw a little girl in a nightgown and slippers standing in the doorway. Her hair was long and tangled, and her eyes looked wet, as if she'd been crying. Louise wasn't frightened, but she wondered, how could this child have come back to the house? Where had she been all this time? But instead of asking questions, Louise nodded slowly, hoping the girl would continue. And that's when she heard the full story. The little girl explained that she was staying in the house with her brother, their mother and father, but she kept having dreams of being lost and alone. Then she'd wake up and find herself sitting in a corner. The girl had told her parents about her dreams, but they thought they were just nightmares, so she stopped telling them. Then she went back to her room. On the last day of summer, she put on her prettiest dress, braided her hair, and stood by the window. Just then, her mom walked in and said, "You look beautiful, but I have to get ready to meet the minister. Your father is coming home tonight. He has news to tell us." The girl ran to hug her mom, but she pushed the girl away and said, "Don't touch me. Go play outside while I finish my chores." The girl felt hurt and confused. She didn't know her mother had changed so much since her father went away. So she went outside. She played until sunset, but when the sky grew dark and the wind blew hard, she got scared and wanted to go inside. But when she turned around, she couldn't find her way back to the house. That's when she started running along the road until she collapsed from exhaustion. And then she died. After the girl finished her story, she turned to Louise and asked, "Can you help me find my way home?" Of course, Louise agreed, although she had no idea where the girl's family home was. But then she remembered. The family was supposed to move into town once her father came back from his trip. That was 70 years ago. And just then, Louise knew what she had to do. She took the girl's hand and led her downstairs to the cellar. Inside, they found old newspapers reporting on the family's disappearance and a yellowed letter addressed to a local innkeeper. It said, "We'll be staying with you until we find a house. Please keep our children safe. Louise Reed." Then she led the girl to the hearth, set a photo of her parents next to it, and said, "They'll be waiting for you in heaven." As soon as she finished speaking, the little girl faded away, leaving behind the scent of lavender. Louise knew she finally had peace. Now, it's time for a new tale. But before we start, I want to ask you to do something really special. If you love stories like these, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. If we reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I'll read one of your comments at the end of our next episode. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And thank you for being here. Our next story is one that shows how a broken heart can lead to more than just a little sadness. Once upon a time in England, a young woman named Wynne fell in love with a charming soldier named Ralph. They shared tender moments, laughed together, and dreamed of a life together. But as it often does, their joy was short-lived. When Ralph had to leave for war, Winnie promised to wait for him, and he swore to return as quickly as he could. Every day, Winnie gazed at his photo, hoping to see his smile in her future. Then she heard rumors that he'd been injured. She waited anxiously for news, but none came. Months turned into years, and still there was no word from Ralph. Finally, Winnie's father suggested it was time to move on. He found a suitor for her, and soon she was married and living far from her old life. But every night she dreamed of Ralph, and every morning she woke up feeling heartbroken. Year after year, she buried her feelings deep inside. Then one day she became ill and knew she wouldn't get better. As she lay on her deathbed, she told her family, "There's something I have to tell you, a secret I've kept for many years." Her husband and children gathered around her bed, eager to hear whatever she had to say. "I have a love named Ralph," she whispered, reaching for a locket, "and I believe he's still waiting for me." Her family was shocked, because they'd never heard a word about this mysterious Ralph. After she died, they found the locket and opened it. Inside, they saw a faded photo of a handsome soldier. Then they heard a strange sound. At first, they thought it was just the wind, but then they heard it again. Someone was knocking on the wall, as if trying to get inside. Terrified, they called the local vicar. "I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation," he said. But as soon as he touched the wall, it started shaking. Suddenly, a hole appeared, and Winnie's ghost stepped out. "Have you seen Ralph?" she asked. Her family shook their heads, and Winnie's ghost sighed sadly. Then she disappeared. Before long, the entire wall collapsed, revealing a secret passageway leading to a small garden. The family stood in stunned silence until Winnie's son, Tom, broke it. "Let's follow her," he said. As they walked through the passage, they spotted a weathered grave with the name Ralph carved into it. Winnie's ghost had finally found her true love. And somehow, the secret passage had kept them connected even after death. Our final story glows like the last embers in a dying fire, warm, gentle, and always inviting rest. Imagine a remote farmhouse on a windswept heath, its hearth logs crackling as dusk deepens into night. Here, an ember's glow would sometimes birth a tale of hope amid solitude. In the late 1700s, a young farmhand named Willem tended sheep across the heath. Evenings found him in the great kitchen, boots shed, coat hung by the door. He stoked the hearth, sending sparks dancing upward, and settled onto a worn bench to sip thin broth. His shoulders slumped, not from weariness, but from the heavy quiet of his aloneness. For all the laughter and life that filled this room during harvest, now only shadows and silence remained. One night, as Willem coaxed the embers back to flame, he noticed tiny motes of light drifting from the hearth into the corner of the room. At first he dismissed them, just sparks blown free from the chimney. But then they gathered, taking shape, becoming something more. They writhed and twisted like wisps of smoke given life, forming the shape of a small child wrapped in flickering light. The child reached out, its features gentle and comforting rather than frightening. Its skin was the color of polished mahogany, its hair a tangle of burning amber, and in its eyes, Willem saw the reflection of the firelight dancing. Willem stared, unsure if he should be frightened or reach out a hand in greeting. As the ember-child drew closer, its gaze held his, and Willem felt an overwhelming sense of peace settle over him. He wanted to speak, but no sound came out. Instead, he watched as the child stepped closer. Then, with a small smile, the flame child pressed a cold hand to Willem's chest. It wasn't hot, nor did it burn, but it radiated a warmth that spread through Willem's body like returning sunlight after a long winter. The touch lingered, and in that moment, Willem felt the loneliness that had been clinging to him like a shroud begin to lift. It was as if the child was drawing out the chill within him, replacing it with a comforting glow. Then, as suddenly as it began, the contact ended. The child's hand vanished, leaving behind the scent of wood smoke and a heart full of wonder. Emboldened by an emotion he hadn't felt in years, hope, Willem asked aloud, "Who are you?" But the only response was the crackling of the fire. He shook his head, thinking he'd imagined the whole thing. Yet the warmth in his chest remained. Over the following nights, the ember-child rose from the hearth to greet Willem when he came to rouse the dying embers. Each time it beckoned with a silent invitation, and each time Willem felt the comforting pull of its presence. "Are you real?" he asked one night, hesitantly reaching out to touch the shimmering form. But his fingers met only cool air. Still, he didn't waver. Instead, he followed the ember-child deeper into the room, further than he'd ever ventured alone. They moved past the table where stories were shared, and tankards were raised, past the dresser where his work clothes were kept, past the bed where his dreams had often wandered, all the way to the far wall, where a single window allowed a sliver of moonlight to paint the floor in silver. The ember-child turned, its eyes pools of molten gold in the dim light. And in that instant, Willem knew he wasn't alone, not in the vast house nor in the world. He smiled, a sound escaping his lips that wasn't quite a laugh, but was edged with joy nonetheless. That night, the ember-child led Willem on a tour of the grounds, flying ahead of him, its light painting the darkness. Below, trees bowed before it, their leaves whispering secrets to the wind. Thorny bushes parted as if welcoming an old friend, and the gnarled old oak by the well offered its branches as a place to rest. Willem trailed that soft light. Each step feels sure, the wind's chill softened, and the stars overhead brighter in gratitude. When dawn began to paint the sky in hues of rose and gold, the ember-child led him back to the hearth. And as the first rays of sunlight touched the dying embers, the child faded, becoming one with the ashes and smoke. Each morning thereafter, Willem awoke with the sunrise, eager to tend the fires and seek out the ember-child. They explored the rolling hills, the babbling brooks, and the fields dotted with sleepy farmhouses. The ember-child pointed out places of beauty, secret glades carpeted with wildflowers, ancient standing stones, and caves adorned with sparkling crystals. Willem marveled at the hidden wonders that surrounded him, realizing he'd spent his life with blinders on, seeing only the toil and tedium of his chores. But as the weeks passed, a shadow fell over their joyful companionship. The ember-child grew fainter, its form flickering like a candle in the wind. Willem knew somehow that their time together was limited. One morning, he awoke to find the hearth cold and the ember-child gone. On the mantel lay a single coal, still faintly glowing. He carried it like a talisman through his days, a reminder of gentle guidance in the darkest hours. In hearthside gatherings afterward, he would share the tale, how kindness can appear in the most unexpected forms, even born of smoke and flame, how the simplest spark can ignite the warmest memories, and how sometimes the greatest journeys begin with a single step towards the light. As the fire crackled, casting flickering shadows on the faces around him, Willem's voice echoed with the wisdom gleaned from his nightly adventures. The young farmhand had become a beacon of hope and remembrance, sharing the tale not just as a story, but as a testament to the transformative power of connection. His audience, gathered close to the hearth, listened with rapt attention, their faces illuminated by the very same dancing flames that had once guided him through the lonely nights. In the quiet moments that followed his tale, there were nods of understanding, smiles of recognition, and tears of shared experience. For who among them had not felt the bite of loneliness, the sting of loss, or the warmth of a fleeting moment of connection? Willem's story resonated because it spoke to the universal human need for light in the darkness, for solace in the face of grief, and for hope in the depths of despair. As the last embers fade to ash, let their gentle warmth linger within you, Breathe deeply, feeling the heat creep up your chest, chase away the gathering gloom, and bring a soothing smile to your lips. Hold that calm glow in your heart, letting it push out any lurking shadows. With each breath, imagine the flickering flames climbing higher, touching every corner of your being, banishing the remnants of the day's worries and replacing them with a tranquil peace. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the crackling fire transforms into a soothing lullaby. Feel your mind unwind, readying for sleep. Surrender to the comforting embrace of the virtual fire, allowing its warmth to envelop you completely. Drifting peacefully, you whisper a silent thank you to the flickering flames that have guided you to this moment of serenity. Your worries fade into the background, replaced by the cozy crackle of the virtual fire. You breathe deeply, savoring the sensation of virtual warmth spreading through your body. Each inhale brings a renewed sense of calm, chasing away any lingering stress or anxiety. With every exhale, you let go of the tension that has been gripping you, releasing it into the virtual fireplace before you, imagining it dissolving into the digital flames. The virtual fire crackles merrily, casting dancing shadows on the walls around you. Its glow paints a serene smile on your face, inviting you deeper into its comforting embrace. Close your eyes and lose yourself in the moment, allowing the virtual warmth to lull you into a state of peaceful relaxation. Let the flickering light guide you to a place of tranquility, where worries are but distant echoes and peace reigns supreme. Drifting further into relaxation, you feel the virtual warmth wrap around you like a soft blanket, enveloping you in its comforting embrace. The virtual fire becomes a portal to a realm of pure serenity, and you are its willing traveler. As you surrender to the captivating allure of the digital flames, a profound sense of calmness washes over you. Your muscles relax, releasing any remaining tension, and your thoughts begin to slow down, floating like gentle breezes through a boundless sky. With each passing moment, you feel yourself becoming one with the virtual fire, its essence blending seamlessly with your own. In this state of harmonious connection, you discover a deep sense of inner peace, allowing you to embrace the present moment fully. As the mesmerizing dance of the virtual flames continues, you find yourself entering a state of profound stillness. Your mind, once cluttered with thoughts, now mirrors the tranquil surface of a still pond, reflecting the serenity of the digital fire before you. This is the essence of the virtual fireplace, a sanctuary where chaos finds peace and tranquility reign supreme. You breathe deeply, reveling in the feeling of virtual warmth spreading through your being. It's a sensation so real, it sends pleasant shivers down your spine. Surrender to the magic of the virtual fireplace. Let its comforting glow guide you into a state of blissful relaxation. Embrace the flickering flames, allowing their warmth to melt away your stress and tension. With each passing moment, you feel a wave of tranquility wash over you, bringing with it a profound sense of peace and serenity. You are enveloped in a cocoon of virtual warmth, shielded from the outside world and its worries. Here, in the embrace of the virtual fireplace, you are free to simply be. Your thoughts drift like clouds across the vast expanse of the digital sky, untethered and unburdened. And as you bask in the ethereal glow of the virtual fire, you realize that this is more than just a digital experience. It's a journey to the heart of relaxation, a pilgrimage to the realm of inner peace. So close your eyes, breathe deeply, and allow the virtual fireplace to transport you to a place where calmness is your constant companion and serenity your eternal abode.